Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Serving It Up. Jim Hayes, along with
Just
Lance
me.
Lynn.
It's just me
Lance
today, it looks
Lynn.
like. We'll see
Wait,
if anybody else shows up.
Lance Lynn is here. We generally have Matt Holliday, sometimes Kyle Gibson. Uh, we have a group chat, a group text, and
It's it should have a bunch of crickets on it instead of dots right now because they're being a little crickety.
yeah, what are we doing here? I know. Look, when you're a former professional athlete and you're sitting on millions and millions of dollars, things come up. I get it. But Lance is here. The weak link in the panel is here. Hopefully, these other guys will pop in. I really wanted to talk to Kyle Gibson because you're a dog guy. I'm a dog guy, and he just got a retirement dog, which I find fascinating. And I thought he'd want to show it off, and we haven't seen him since.
Yeah, that's kind of he's in full retirement mode. It's like that movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall's. I was going to be there, but then I went on living my life. I was going to listen to that track, but then I went on living my life. So that's Kyle. That's the way Kyle's treating us right now. And I kind of think it's funny. I find it to be quite funny actually, but because that's opposite of who he is all the way around. As you know, he's usually always very particular about his stuff, but he's on vacation now, so we just got to work within his time frame. And sounds like Thursdays at 10 are definitely not his spot. So maybe we need to find a new spot.
Okay, well, I'm open, but Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central seems like that was the one all you guys wanted. Holiday seemed on board. You seemed on board, and at the time, Kyle was still pursuing another opportunity in baseball, so he was hit or miss. So that's what we kind of locked in on. I'll be glad to move the time. As you know, all I have is AM radio and cable television to deal with. So, but here's the
Yeah,
thing about Kyle, and I look, I knew him for that one season and he always was like a regular guy in there, really smart. But I just get the sense now that he's not playing, you have to answer not to a manager or a pitching coach, but to a wife. And you've been away a long time, so you have some things to make up for.
yeah. You went from you answer to a pitching coach or manager, and you have some sort of say to now you have the total boss. And you're kind of just going with the flow, and the joke is you got to figure out how the flow that they've been into. As you see, when you get back from a road trip or at the end of the season, you got to find the flow of the family. So right now, Kyle's finding that flow. If you would have done this, if you and I would have done this in April, I probably would have been a little bit more spotty, like kind of like Kyle is now. So, and then Matt's a little bit further removed from playing, so he's got a little bit more time. But his kids are, and school's about to start up too, so we might have a little bit more free time here for everybody, especially at the 10 Central mark, is get the kids out the door at 8:30 to school, and then you got 8 to 3. I'm sure everybody's kind of looking forward for the kids to go back to school.
With Holiday though, it's different because of his kids being involved in baseball. He's a good dad. He really is a good dad. When they went to see his son play in Baltimore, uh, he and his other son, they drove scooters to the ballpark in the rain together, and then they watched the game. Holiday's not in some suite, where you would think he would be. He's in the stands with his kid. He's watching the Oklahoma Thunder game on his phone and just chilling, hat backwards. Everyone left him alone. He's a pretty good dad, but he should be here, and I'll be tough because he's not in the waiting room for this production, so I'm going to rip him and Kyle for that. But it does bring. I did have a bunch of stuff I wanted to ask about. Um, uh, it's the Chaim Bloom era now, right? Mo is being phased out. How well do you know Chaim Bloom? He was around last year. I'm just curious your interactions and your impressions of Chaim.
Yeah, I gotta pick his brain a little bit, whether it was in spring training or when he came around during the season. I know a lot of last year was grading and kind of going to each minor league spot, seeing each team, each player, kind of seeing what the organization was. I don't want to say lacking. I think it's one of those things what they can improve on from bottom up. So you got to have he's gonna a lot of his work last year was kind of doing that, seeing where they were behind or not up to date in certain areas in each complex. Because some of those minor league complexes, especially this day and age with what they're trying to do with trackmans and this and that, really need to be updated in certain spots. So each coach and the organization can get stuff pretty, I mean, instantly or post game, so they can put it in their reports and stuff like that. So he was doing most of that last year, grading the farm system, seeing where where it could be improved and stuff like that. And then, like you said, he would come in and we'd pick his brain a little bit. Obviously he's got a background in the game. I think he started in Tampa and then went to Boston. So just kind of seeing how he saw it differently from being in other organizations too. So the interaction was a little, but it was fun and it was enjoyable while you got to, because he's a very smart guy and he's seen it in different areas in this game, and he's got a wide variety of ways that he can improve not only the Cardinals but the system, the big league team, but the system in general.
Background, he seems like a family guy, but a tough businessman. He made tough decisions, obviously, in Boston, and he's, I think, the reputation, and I like him. I've had a few conversations with him, but tough businessman, and there are going to be some tough decisions. I wanted to ask you about your buddy Miles right now. Um, he had a couple of starts before his last one that were better, right? I think it was 11 combined innings over two starts, two earned runs, kept the ball out of the middle of the plate. Velocity was actually up. I'm
Mhm.
not talking about his last start, but in the four previous, his fastball, four seamer, was over 94 miles an hour, which is pretty solid, had more movement to it, and it was up like 2 or 3 miles per hour over where it was. So I thought he had found something. He got rocked in his last start. I haven't talked to him since. He's a guy who takes a lot of pride in what he does. What do you think that's like for Miles to be where he is now?
I think it sucks, to be honest with you. When you're going through the ups and downs, you're looking at kind of, you saw it a little bit last year where he'd go and stretches of throwing the ball well, and then he'd have a bad one. Throughout the year, you're going to have bad ones. You just got to figure out how to have those bad ones where it's only like four earned runs, and you figure out how to get through 6 innings, and that's when you have a really good year. But right now, it's like when it goes bad, it seems to go really bad for him, and that kind of goes hand in hand with the point where it's like once you think you've got it figured out, something pops up, and like you said, he's going to have some good ones, and then he's going to have some bad ones because the way he pitches the contact most of the time. Use multiple pitches. He's trying to get the ball on the ground as quick as possible, and when you do that without strikeouts, you're going to have to deal with luck with balls getting through and hits happening. And then if you can make sure you don't walk people and keep the ball in the ballpark, usually you can manage those games. And then sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And that's also part of the process of getting older, right? In this game, the game changes year to year. You have to be able to adapt with it on the fly. And right now he's probably in that point in his career where, hey, what am I going to do to be able to make kind of my next chapter if I want to keep playing and keep doing it? And I think and that gets you a little bit in between while you're trying to figure it out. So when you get in between, some games it clicks, some games it doesn't. And right now, hopefully, he gets out of that in between and finds what works for him and how he can manage each game instead of being in between.
I have a proposal. Tell me what you think of it.
Let's hear it.
It worked for Steven Matz. I would tell Miles, look, we want we want you to have success. He wants to pitch next year. He wants to keep pitching. We want to help you with that too. Steven Matz went to the bullpen, right? And became really a weapon out of the
Mhm.
bullpen. A guy who could give you 2 innings, 3 innings, can put in a lot of work for you, not starting, and then eventually spot starting here and there. And Matz did really well. What if you did that with Miles? You tell him, look, we have your back. We know you want to start. Let's try this. And it will also give you another lane as you look to link up and and resume pitching.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you want guys to have success. You want them to do well, and I think that for Miles, where you're at with him right now, if you're going to go to the retooling that they're doing and you want young guys to have starts down the stretch, you go to them and be like, hey, here's where we're at. We're not saying that you're not going to start any more games, but we're also saying, hey, we might need 2 innings to work out of the bullpen, a la Leahy, what he does and stuff like that. Because Miles has that ability to do that. Maybe his fastball will tick up even more down there. You never know what a change of scenery, game in and game out could do for him. But obviously, if he's not on board with that, then you have to make a decision of, hey, what's best for our organization. We're already stuck with the money right now. We'll be honest with that. So, hey, we want you to go down here, and then maybe you can have a resurgence out of the bullpen, and then you might find a landing spot in whatever capacity that fits for you next year. But we're going to let these young kids start games and get starts on their belt, and we need you to fill in innings. And hopefully, and I think Miles would be on board with that if that's something that's being talked about. But if they don't have guys to make the starts, then you also have to cover innings so you don't kill the bullpen and kill these young guys down the stretch too. Because all in all, you want to see what you have for the future this year. So when you go into free agency, if you plan on competing next year, you have to see what you have starting rotation wise and what you plan on being in your rotation, and then how you're going to add externally to make your rotation deep, and what deals might work for your team. And if you so, like I said, you got to see what you have rotation wise that's in AAA, and then go from there.
If I'm all, I mean, I've said this for a while. I'd like to see Leahy get a chance to start at some point. He's started in the minors. He's already shown he can multiple innings. Also, as a guy that's a reliever, he has an arsenal of pitches that would certainly benefit him as a starter. One of the things I know they're looking at, because they're discussing whether or not they want to do that now or wait with Leahy, but they're also a little concerned with Liberatore, who they like a
Mhm.
lot, but he's well past his career high in innings pitched. And when they see the velocity drop, or like yesterday, they said he got a little gassed. It was really hot in LA. That maybe, and they're already trying to manage his innings anyway. So maybe they do something there. But I think Leahy would be a guy who could maybe have a nice lane as a starting pitcher.
Oh, Lay's got all the pitches to be a starting pitcher. Now it's the case that you're making is when you get the 2 innings, 3 innings, and then you got multiple times to the lineup, what that looks like, and you got to kind of see what it looks like, to be honest. So I'm with you on this in the sense of maybe I understand the career high with Libby, but you also want to make sure next year he's able to do things and finish out the season all the way through. You got a little bit of time here where you can't just shut him down, or next year he's not going to know how to push through the September mark and then hopefully through October, right? So I've always thought the best way to do a pitcher is make sure they make their starts every 5 6 days, or if you want to go 6 day, and then the innings go from you never get over five and you never get over like 75 pitches as you move there, but you finish the season because the body has to learn to finish the season. If you shut them down now, they only know how to pitch 4.5 months. And then you can do that when you manage them by, hey, we're not going over 75 pitches, and then we've got Leahy, or we got Miles, or we got somebody to go 3 innings, and then it's a piggyback system, but it's not without a plan. And you got guys that have that ability, and then next thing you know, it works into your system, and next year you have guys that can go longer into the season. They know what it feels like, and they finish, and that gives the guys a big step going into the offseason is finishing the season healthy, but you finish it without being shut down.
So I asked Ali about Liberatore. I think is a wonderful young guy, and he said he may be as locked in on trying to get better as anyone on the ball club. You know him personally. I'm sure you threw some tips his way. Tell me about Liberatore.
Yeah, I mean, Libby's not afraid to ask any question, and he wants to know the good, the bad, the ugly. Like he's not afraid of any of it, which is great. So he's prepared as anybody can be. He knows his body. He knows what he's trying to do. He's ready for this moment. Now you got to figure out how to make sure you help him. not overdo it, because he is a guy who wants to be good and he wants to do everything right. And sometimes when you do it that way, it eats at you, and you can't let it eat at him as the year goes on, because then it kind of just it brings you down. This game will bring you down the more you let it eat at you. So for me, let him finish the year. Make sure he goes 4 to 5 innings a pop at the end. Don't overextend the pitch count or anything like that. Throw Leahy in a start or here or there. Go six man rotation down the stretch, and then everybody finishes, gets their innings, and then they learn how to be full year major league pitchers, because he's never had 6 straight months of starting. But if you stop him now, it's not going to be what he needs for the future. He needs to know what 25 to 30 starts looks like, and to finish through September when you're miserable, right? You're going to be miserable in this game at times. You got to figure out how to get through it. And if you shut guys down just because they're tired or innings limit, it doesn't teach them how to get through it. It just says, oh, well, when I'm tired, I just take a break. It's like, no, when you're tired, you got to figure out how to man up and get through it. And that's the process. If you got 6 to 7 guys that can throw 25 starts, you got a really good starting rotation, but you got to get in there and teach them to do that. In the minor leagues, you're never going to make over 20 to 25 starts. So you have to teach those guys in the big leagues, especially when you're doing this rebuild, retooling that you're doing right now. You can't shut them down, because you got to make sure they know they can do a big league seasons of workload.
What's it like in the clubhouse? Like, for example, this year's Cardinal team, still competitive. Just took 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, but they were sellers. They dismantled their bullpen, leverage guys, all gone. Now young guys are going to get a chance. Some of the guys, by the way, like Riley O'Brien, Swanson, have looked really, really good. JoJo. Some guys are struggling. They brought back Fernandez. He struggled. Granillo struggling a little bit. But what's it like in a clubhouse where it kind of doesn't feel like it's your year? They're already selling. They weren't buyers. They were selling. And and it just has a different feel in the clubhouse. What's it like being part of that, where you realize this probably isn't going to be our year?
I mean, it's terrible feeling, to be honest with you, because then you're in this situation. But here's the truth of the matter: in spring training, they kind of were selling anyways from the get-go, right? So you have this, oh, let's prove them wrong, let's prove we have enough in the clubhouse, which they do if everything goes perfect health-wise and stuff like that. And that's not, it didn't happen in that sense. When you go into the season and the whole off-season's been talked about, Arenado being traded and this and that, and we're retooling and this, it from the jump, it's been, hey, we're not competing this year, if that makes sense. So now at the end, you're kind of just like, hey, you got to finish strong, not only for yourself, but also for your teammates around you. And if everybody can come together and finish their season, like I was saying, like with Libby, you finish it, then you go from there. So it's good. That's what you're trying to build these guys is, hey, finish the season, be professional, and go get yours, but also be a good teammate.
Hey, look who's here, everybody! Matt Holliday.
Yeah,
Hello,
Yeah.
Matt.
I've been backstage for 20 minutes, but it's fine, no problem. This
Uh-oh.
show's well-oiled machine.
You were you were waiting backstage.
Yeah, check your phone. I just gave you a 5-minute warning, or I was quitting, resigning.
I can't see my texts when I'm
What's
on.
why?
What do we call this thing? The
StreamYard, the yard.
Streamyard. Yeah,
Yeah, of
and
course you can.
I we were waiting for you,
Yeah, you
and we
were.
figured you might pop in, so we figured, all right, but don't. I'm going to blame
I,
Joe Roderick for
I
this.
tried to
Blame Joe
pop in.
Roderick.
Tried to pop in. Yeah,
Joe said he's sorry he's on a call.
I had to. I was just. It was great. I mean, I was listening to Lance, the insight Lance had, but I was about to quit. So,
Do
Oh,
you
don't
agree? Do
quit.
you agree with any of it, or do you hate it all?
no, I agree with all of it. I mean, it's. I mean, most of it's Cardinal and pitching talk, which that's your expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what have you been on ball clubs where you knew it wasn't going to happen? It seems like the air comes out of the clubhouse. How much of a challenge is that?
Well, I think it's a challenge, but look, the bottom line is, you're in the major leagues. You're playing ball with your buddies. I mean, yeah, there's days you're tired and it's hot, and some days are better than others. But I think one thing you realize when you're done playing is that you never get this time back, right? And so, um, like I tell Jackson all the time, like, don't take it for granted. Like, enjoy the game. You're still playing in the major leagues. You're playing ball for a living. it's you get to play with your friends, and um, you're facing the best in the world. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a lot more fun to go to the park in August and September when you're right in the middle of a pennant race and you got a chance to win the World Series. But I mean, you still getting to play Major League Baseball. You get to hang out with your buddies. You get big league dinners. I mean, it's one of those things where there's plenty of ways to still enjoy yourself even if you're not in the playoffs.
So then I wrote a bunch of topics. You probably got it in the elaborate email, Matt, that I sent you about topics.
Uh-huh.
But so Arenado, and I know your boys with him, is going to be in the Jupiter complex. Apparently, they're going to check his shoulder. Maybe he'll get back in games. I'm just wondering because people are clamoring for JJ Wetherholt, who's tearing up AAA. Small sample size, but he's been great
I
at
like it.
every
Yeah.
single level. Do you think it's time to see that kid, Matt?
Here, I think they're all the organizations with these top prospects are waiting for this. I think it's around August 15th, where they can play the rest of the games and not lose their rookie status. When they attach this rookie of the year draft thing, they helped guys early in the season, but they hurt call ups in the middle of the season because these organizations see a guy like JJ Wetherholt. If he's a rookie status next year and hits 300 and wins rookie of the year, they get a first. I think it's just right after the first round pick. Is that right? Something like
Yeah,
that. So I
comp
think
pick. Yeah, comp pick.
I think there's a date coming up where guys like him, and there's a couple of Oriole guys. Samuel Basayo, who's a big time catcher, has 20 some home runs in AAA. Dylan Beavers is killing it in AAA with the Orioles, and I think you'll see those guys. But I think it'll be after the date where they can still have their rookie status next year.
You all for that? Because in the past, we've seen with the Cardinals, some guys they want to wait on, for their quote unquote development. I get that, the date's important in this case. Would you say go ahead and pull the trigger on that, Lance?
Um, Unfortunately, as a player, I say, yeah, you want to get up and have as much time as you can, right? Big league service time is what you're about. There's two ways to look at it. One, if you come up now you lose rookie status, you have no chance to win rookie of the year and get in the bonus pool. So for their sake, if you wait, what, 15 days and then you can still be a rookie next year, you got a chance to make more money your quote unquote rookie year, but it also costs you what, 15 days of service time and pay and a full paycheck. So there's good and there's bad with both. I think all in all, if you come up and you do your job next year and you win, or you're in the rookie of the year vote and you get in this bonus pool, it's going to benefit you in the long run and not lose your rookie status this year because you're still not going to be a super two. You're still not going to be ARB eligible any faster. So in the grand scheme of things, you actually will probably make more money if you have a full rookie year to get in those votes and get status. So it sucks, but at this time of year, and now if you're talking May or June, and then they want to hold you out for 2 months, that's when it's like, okay, that sucks. But right now, it's like, hey, 15 days, and I still get my rookie status next year to try to get a rookie of the year and stuff like that is okay.
But I think to your point, Jim, I would like to see JJ in the big leagues this year. Whenever that date comes. I mean, I think it's good for guys to get their feet wet. So when he rolls into spring training, he feels like he has the job next year, and he's already experienced maybe a month of big league at bats, and he's kind of get his feet under himself and kind of feel the speed and the difference between AAA and the big leagues. And then next year, I think it's a much more comfortable spring training / beginning to the season. So I'd like to see him in the big leagues for the last month.
Yeah,
I
no, I agree
also
with that. If he needs to come up this year, if you're doing this retool rethink, and he's having the year that he's having, you got to reward these guys for having good years. You're not losing any status. You're not losing any arbitration status or anything like that on these guys. So yeah, you want to see what these guys look like for the last month, get used to the team, and then it gives you an idea. Hey, this is what our team looks like going right now, and how can we go around these guys going into next year too. And I agree with Matt. You got to get some at bats. You can't just start the year in the big leagues. I think next year, that's what September's always been about, especially for teams that were not in it. Let's see what our guy next year looks like because he's going to be a big leaguer. You think, right? So let's get him up there and get him a few at bats while we're not in it. So next year, when we're planning on winning, he's ready to go.
So I agree with both you guys, and I just wonder. Look, there's dollars and cents involved in this, and there is a retooling, I forget what, resetting going on, rebuilding in a sense. The Cardinals have some talented players, but I also think you want to give the fans something to get excited
Yeah,
about
I agree with
next
that.
year.
Yeah,
And I just wonder how much does that factor in? If you're Chaim Bloom
yeah.
and you're given this job to reshape an organization and bring it back to where it was, how much do you think that that would even factor in saying, look, I know we're going to go through some pain this year and next, but the plan is for this year and the future, whatever. How much do you factor in giving your fans something to come and get excited about?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think you want to tie your fans to kids like JJ Wetherholt and some of their other prospects to get excited about. I mean, I look as a fan, if I feel like I know the players, I'm more likely to want to come watch. Right? If you let them know their personality and you kind of put them out there for the fans to know and see and get excited about, I certainly think kids start wearing the jerseys. Kids want to go. It creates a I think that's how you do it, and you build a nucleus of players that you think are going to be here for the next 6 7 years that young fans and Cardinal fans can get excited about. So I agree with that. I think that they need to sell. And I don't even know if you have to say sell, but I think promote this next wave of young talent that's going to help you take you to the next wave of greatness with the Cardinals. So I agree with that. I mean, I think this kid is from all accounts, I know a couple people that know him really well. Seems like a great kid and somebody that you kind of want to build around.
Lance Lynn once told me, do you know, and this was Lance was a productive pitcher for the Cardinals for a long stretch. He said, do you know that they don't even have a Lance Lynn jersey in the team store? And so I tracked that. They never had a Lance Lynn, they had jerseys, but never Lance Lynn jerseys. So, Lance, you might be the exception, but do you think that the Cardinals do enough to promote their players and make sure that you kind of get the fans interested in the guys on your roster?
They do for the ones they like, right? There's really
Hey, I promote bringing those commercials back. Remember when we did those commercials that were funny?
Yeah, I did a bingo one time.
Yeah, those were funny in spring training. Those were fun. We used to do those commercials. I think I really do. I think they should bring that kind of stuff back.
I
Yeah,
think
you
they're
should.
trying to. I think they're
Yeah.
trying to.
Well, you got so many personalities now and stuff like that. Back in the day, we didn't understand what that meant, and bringing not only your own personality out, but letting the fans see that. Nowadays, that's what everyone's about. So why not let these kids, let these guys that have their TikToks and this and that show that personality on the game feed and commercials and stuff like that. So I think it's a no doubter, and that's the next generation, right? We talked about the Savannah Bananas, but you have these young kids that know how to do all this. Let them do some of the in between commercials, the jumbotron stuff like that. That stuff's huge for the youth of the game, and I think a lot of the older fans like it too because you see that personality that might be a little different than what you think that guy's like, and that's the fun part about sports is getting a glimpse, just a glimpse, and that's what you're talking about with bringing him up to see. You get a little glimpse, a little hope of what these people can be, and that brings you to the ballpark, and it makes you more of a fan. Because when it's all said and done, you're a fan of the players that play the game too. You are a fan of the Cardinals, but the players are what you root for.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Matt Holliday, and you can't reach through the screen this on this StreamYard and choke me. But like, there were times as a player where people said, "Yeah, Matt does. He's a leader by example. He doesn't say much in there." And I was like, "That's people that are never in the clubhouse." I go, "Are you kidding me? Like, you chirped your teammates. You were as much involved in anyone. Did you ever hear that stuff about you? That yeah, he doesn't because you didn't like talking about yourself. You didn't like talking about how you were 3 for 4, and I don't think folks got to see the full Matt Holiday personality until later in your career."
Yeah, I mean, look, we came up with Tony, and we spent a lot of time with managers where, and a little bit old school, like where you just play the game and you play the game hard, and you go home and take care of your family. You keep your circle small. You don't give the media too much because it's our clubhouse. It's our, it's our group, and you want to. I probably didn't do. I honestly, looking back, I should have showed more of my personality and been a little bit more open about who I was as a person and my personality. But I guess just I guess for me, I just wanted to keep it all super simple, like straight. I was kind of raised that way in baseball of you know just straightforward. Don't give them anything that they can turn on you with, and so yeah, I probably missed some opportunities to let the fans know me a little better. But I think that's that was, like I said, that's kind of the era that I came up with, and as Lance could tell you, Tony didn't want us to give anything to the media and keep it very close to the vest, and that's probably the way that I took it. But like I said, I missed opportunities to be a little bit more of myself. I mean, look, with me and you, and I think there was
Right.
plenty of opportunities to see my personality, and even those commercials. And going back to Colorado, we did those commercials. Like, I mean, I think there was plenty of ways to find my personality. But on a day-to-day basis, answering questions with the media get a little monotonous, it kind of irked me, and I probably didn't handle that the best.
Yeah, but when we do a one-on-one and you would attack me, 7 different ways to Sunday. I think people got the gist that you could play that back and forth game pretty well. And Lance, you showed it with your post game interviews. In fact, when I met Kyle Gibson for the first time, I think it was at winter warm up before his season with the Cardinals. I introduced myself, and he said, "Yeah, I know who you are. I watched the Jim Hayes Lance Lynn YouTube clips." So in your post game, that's kind of where your personality showed. You went back and forth with the media.
Yeah, I think early on in my career there was times where I was kind of like the similar thing with Matt, where people assume certain things of me, and certain things were misconstrued about me, or were taken out of context. So decided with you is I was going to take it over the way I wanted to take over my post games, and that's when I started having fun with it. And then I was very similar to Matt though. If it wasn't my post game, you weren't getting anything out of me. That was kind of how I was taught to. We're coming up. You can't get too high. You can't get too low in this game. It's easy to talk about how great you are, but then if you don't show up when you have a bad one, so I was taught, hey, be the same guy every day, no matter what. And the post games are where I can kind of control my narrative, and I learned to do that with the help of you giving me very, very mediocre questions that I made great. So
That's great.
that was my way to do it as I got older in the game, because I feel like when I was early on, I was a little bit when I answered things truthfully, it got taken the wrong way or this and that, because I'm a bit of a smartass, right? So I learned to make that fun. I learned to make being a smartass fun instead of having it turn against me. So that's what I tried to do as I got older.
We
Yeah, and
should make a
you
shirt.
scared the crap out of some of the media too. You
We should
did.
make a shirt. Make
Well,
make smart ass
some of them,
fun.
yeah, make smart ass fun again. No, I think that what happened was is some of the media would ask you same questions, and they would be, I'm young, and somehow they were like they were trying to make me say something. You learned who was good and who was bad to you. And what happened, and the people that might have slighted me a little bit when I was younger, I made sure to make an example of them the older I got too. So it's like people don't forget, and I don't know
Lance
if they,
keeps receipts.
yeah, and Matt knows I'm good at it. And
Yeah.
I don't forget, and I'm quick when it's time to catch that, to show you that receipt. It's real quick. So that's what that's who I became. I don't know if that's good or bad either, but I had fun with it also.
It's fun. I mean, baseball you should have fun with. I mean, as much as you can. It's a grind, and sometimes you're not winning, but you should have as much fun. I totally agree with that.
I got a question, Matt.
Yeah.
Did you find that like in that like I guess 2008 to like 15, there was a lot more trying to get dirt or like trying to stir things up in the media than actually being media. And then it kind of switched over when social media showed up, like really run it, because then they can't kind of make up because there's more cameras, there's more people actually hearing this the interview and stuff where they can't turn your words against you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a time when they would just hang out in the clubhouse and you feel like they were listening for stuff.
Hmm.
And then look, I mean, certainly there was writers in St. Louis that were writing. I think they write the columns or whatever, and they needed and tried to have, especially like, when Albert was going through his signing stuff, and um, there was just a lot more. I feel like the columnist portion of baseball writing used to be a lot more trying to find dirt and trying to dig up controversy or create stuff. And then, like you said, I think that style of writing and that style of newspaper has kind of gone away a little bit to where it's all a little more digital, and well, I guess some people still read the paper, but a lot of people don't read the paper anymore. And so a lot of the investigative columns, in my opinion, particularly in baseball, have kind of died off. So yeah, I would agree with that. Certainly. I like the guys that I'm kind of thinking of that were the ones that were standing around kind of digging up crap. But
The Snoopers.
yeah, but you could tell that, like, and even their angling of questions was like, oh, I see where you're going with this. So anyway, yeah, I agree. I think most of that's gone away.
Did you ever bust a reporter for listening to a conversation in the clubhouse? Did you ever bust anyone for that?
Oh, I mean, I think a lot of times we would loud talk them. Gonna go in the food room
Yeah.
because I can't sit in the locker room and have a conversation. It's just, I think, in our own way. I don't think, at least me, I never was like direct and blatant towards anybody, but I certainly made them feel the message that I was trying to put out. And that's what a lot of times, like when that was happening, most of the guys were never in the clubhouse. They would just hang out in the food room or the training room or the weight room or the cage or the video room. I mean, that was where we hung out, the video room mostly. And I think that's big reason why, is because guys felt like they were being almost like spied on.
Yeah. When you had guys that would not ask a question at all and then listen to your question to an answer and then put it in their column how they wanted it to be, and it doesn't even have the question that was even asked, and then they were able to use your quote because you said it, but it was to answer the other question, and then they would spin it, and those were the stuff. And then that was the only time I ever saw anybody get called out. And then you're like, hey, you wrote this column and this quote, but you never even asked a question, and you never even put the question that was in there to give that quote context. So that's when guys started calling horseshit on people, and it happened, to certain guys, and you saw it get cleaned up pretty quick once it happened. Whether because we had the ability when the game started going a little bit to use our own social medias and this and that to pretty much say, hey, you didn't ask a question, you used a quote from someone else's question to get what you wanted, and that's not journalism. That's just creating your own narrative.
Let me ask you this, because I like to solve the world's problems because I'm really smart.
Right.
But look, the clubhouse is your place. I got to be in there a lot. I don't want to, but that's how I do my job. Would it be easier for the players if baseball came up with a system like they kind of have in hockey or in NFL? Some teams manage it where players certain days would talk, and you players got to be on board with it, and that way, you'll get this guy this day, this guy this day, a special request, you'll get them here, and that way you don't have to have 20 guys lingering around your clubhouse. Would you be on board with something like that?
Yeah, I think there needs to be another room, and y'all just request who you want to talk to. And particularly after the game, if there's 4 or 5 guys, I mean, you go into that little room and answer all the questions, and then, even before the game, you access that room if you have requests. That was the whole thing, is like, don't just hang around and start asking me questions because no one else is in here and I'm the only one in here. It's like, I think that would be a good way to give guys the clubhouse back, is to make requests on who you want and what the angle is, and have the PR guys give it to the players.
Can the elderly reporters be grandfathered in where they could still be in the clubhouse, or
Well,
no?
look, I think guys like you that are with the team and then are on the field and in the dugout, I have no problem with those guys because, we fly, we do life with you guys, and if you step out of line, it's easy for us to put you back in line
Real quick.
And some of those other guys can just fly in, drop a bomb, and then leave for a week. It's to me, it's the you and I know that Brad and Chip probably don't go in the clubhouse much, but those are guys that you know well, and I don't have a problem with them being around. It's the other guys.
Yeah,
Lance,
no,
would you be?
I
Would you,
agree with that.
that would work if you
Well,
have a separate room and players
well,
would be on board with that?
our manager or the managers go post game in a thing. So after the manager's done, it's like, hey, who are your requests for the game?
Yeah,
Four people. Boom,
just
starting
like the
pitchers.
postseason. Yeah,
It's that simple because I mean, and then there's no need for a scrum of people to be around a guy in a locker room like there's 20 other guys trying to get showered and dressed and stuff like that. There's a lot of weirdness in that too that people don't realize that it makes no sense. It really doesn't. This is where guys get dressed every day. This is their like kind of their personal space where they're like getting dressed, showering and all that. And then there's a bunch of randos in there just lurking around. Like I mean, I'm
yeah,
shocked that it is even allowed, to be honest,
yeah,
in any sport with today's age of anything that you never know what can happen. So pre and post game, make your requests. I mean, a lot of this stuff can be done over phone now in the morning, and we don't even have to deal with even seeing people face to face. So yeah, it's a no doubt. Like no other person should be in the clubhouse except team and like travel personnel, people that are with you every day.
Goldschmidt, who's a really smart guy, told me something. He said, I kind of, this is kind of the counter argument for, doing it over Zoom or StreamYard. He said, I kind of want to know who I'm talking to. Like, they'll come up. I like it when a reporter comes up and says hi, introduce himself. You talk to him a couple minutes, you get a feel for the guy. So, don't you think that's an element of,
that
of helping
that's
you guide
fine.
how you want to handle it?
That's fine, but you can do that out in another room. Like
Yeah.
I mean, look, we whatever. I mean, I don't disagree with that, but there's a time and a place, and there's just something strange about 20 random strangers in there when you're putting your underwear on. You know what I mean? They're taking it off. It's just it's odd.
And that's what the dugout's for, right? They're all standing in the dugout. So it's like, hey, come on out here when it's like that's your time. You got 20, 30 minutes pre BP, post BP, during BP for the guys who are just get done hitting and they're done and they're gonna go in. Hey, you got 10 minutes of media, boom, done. Like it's so simple to not have randos in the clubhouse that it's kind of funny that it's still allowed.
Yeah, I agree.
Matt, is that a diet Red Bull? Because we're trying to get sponsors here. All right, hold that up because we'll try to get them as sponsors.
Hey,
Spindrift.
those goes great with vodka too, if you're wondering, if you're into that.
There's
Hey,
no
so
vodka in it.
just so you guys know, I had my hip replaced yesterday.
What?
That's why he was slow to the thing. He's
Yeah,
nursing that hit.
yeah. You want to see my walker?
Yes.
Dude, I didn't even know you were getting that. You didn't even drop that on us last week.
I'm surprised I didn't tell y'all that.
That's why.
So
How's it feel?
what
What?
was going? Yeah, what was going on with the hip?
It was bothering me for a long time, and I went to the doctor, and I have a torn labrum, and I had a whole bunch of stuff with it. And then he said, "Well, actually, the problem is that you have no cartilage left, and you need a hip replacement." And so I had a cortisone shot, which lasted me about 5 months, which was great. And then it wore off overnight, and it went back to limping around. And I got tired of limping around. I went and saw a doctor in Dallas that I was recommended to, and he's like, "Yeah, it's you definitely need a hip replacement." So I got tired of when my wife says, "Hey, you want to go on a walk?" I have to be like, actually, I can't. I don't want to limp. No.
All right.
So,
Is that going
boom.
to help your pickleball game?
Yes,
That was the number one reason. It's
That's
like
why he did it.
I'm gonna be
Yes.
able to pickleball from 50 on with no problems.
that's the main reason. Yes.
Yeah, I
So
love
how
it.
long is
So
how long were you in surgery, and how long is the recovery?
we went down Tuesday, did all the pre-op stuff, and then had to be there at 5:30 yesterday morning. And I went into surgery around 7, and he was done by 8, and then I was out of the hospital by 11:30, and I was back in Stillwater by 4.
And how long before you're back without the walker? And
I hope to not to have to walk her for a couple of, like probably hopefully like 3 days, 4 days with the walker, and then the first 2 weeks it's pretty minimal. And then from week 2 to 6, start doing some activity, and then hopefully at 6 weeks I have a re-X-ray and everything looks good and kind of cleared to do most things.
2 questions. Do you have tennis balls on the bottom of the walker?
No, I will not
No.
do that. No,
And secondly, are you gonna have to have a cane, and are you gonna use like an old baseball bat as a cane for 2 weeks or what?
no, no, no. I don't. I'm gonna get rid of this thing as fast as I can.
I hear you. I hear you.
Well, thank you. I mean, I feel bad that we're kind of killing you a little because you were late, but I mean, good for
Well,
you. I'm
yeah,
glad.
I was hobbling over to my phone, and then I waited in the waiting room for 15 minutes, so it's all good.
All right, I had some other. This is like breaking news. I'm glad it went well, and I wish you a speedy recovery. I did have a couple of baseball questions that I'm curious about that I wanted to throw out there. Number one, because I think one of the cool things about talking with you guys is you find out stuff that like baseball fans never hear. So I always wonder, like, who's in charge? I'll start with you on this one, Lance. Who's in charge of the playlist for the clubhouse? The music you listen to, and is it ever an issue?
Definitely. Are you talking clubhouse only? There's the issues when it gets loud on a flight late at night. That's usually when you have your most issues when guys are trying to sleep. But playlist day of game usually is the starting pitcher. He comes in and puts his show on. But you always it went from the guy would come in and put his stuff on to now you have like a DJ for the team. He usually has the what's going on the bus and the clubhouse, and he kind of asks for requests on your start days and stuff like that. So that's what it morphed into. So that starter can be like, hey, and then once the starter goes out, then they put their list on for like the position players to get what they got going on. So there's usually a set in stone DJ guy that learns what everybody kind of likes. When you do that, it kind of breaks it up. It's not the same thing all the time.
And there's never problems. Someone doesn't like a song, or someone tries to jump in where they don't belong.
So what I've learned, the only problems that ever happen is when you have your when guys are like carrying around their own beat box system or something like that, their own personal one, and playing their own music on top of the what's going on the clubhouse speakers. That's the only time I've ever seen a true issue in the clubhouse
Who did
when
it?
it. Oh man, there's been a couple. There's been a couple over the years. And when I was in Texas, there were some guys who like to bring their own music and just walk through the clubhouse with it while there's other stuff going on. And it's usually and usually when it upsets you, it's when it's extremely loud and it's your own personal speaker, and that's when guys are like, "Hey, let's like it's more like just have some respect for everyone else, and if you want to listen to something, go put it on or talk, figure out how to put it on so we can all hear it where it's not multiple different things going everywhere."
How about you, Matt? You ever seen anyone have a beef with the music in the clubhouse, the playlist?
I mean, not typically. I think guys come in and out of the clubhouse so much that if you don't like what they're playing, just go to another room. I mean, it's just I never really thought of it much of an issue. Like Lance said, usually the pitcher of that day kind of controlled the music. Um, but I never paid much mind to it. I mean, I think that there's times where you don't like it, you can just put your own headphones on or go to the other room, but certainly not worth making a fuss about. I'm with Lance. I think the more issues that I saw were on the plane late at night when guys weren't respectful for the other guys that were trying to sleep or had families on the plane and still felt like they had to blare the music. So that was the only ever sort of tiff that I saw was that kind of thing.
All right, last thing. Uh, I want to know your favorite ballparks to play in. Like, give me your top two outside of Busch Stadium. We're going to leave that one off because you best fans in baseball see a red. We get that. But out just your favorite ballparks, top two to play in, to pitch in. Why? And I'll start with you, Matt.
Um, so obviously Colorado and St. Louis, I played there the majority of my
We're
career.
taking them off the table.
Okay, so I love both of them. Um, one of my favorites was Philadelphia. I hit really well there. We played in the playoffs. We had some of the biggest games I ever played in Philadelphia, where the environment was awesome. I hit well there. So that's probably number one. And then let's see. I liked Wrigley Field and Fenway Park because of the history. You felt like you were like back in time playing old school baseball at those parks, and they're cool cities to be in. And so those are probably my top three that I enjoyed playing ball in.
I like that. How about you, Lance?
So, obviously, I was St. Louis, we can't go there. But when you start looking for me, when when you play in the Wrigley's, the Fenways, Dodger Stadium, when you start playing in those places where you saw guys playing when you're growing up, that was always cool to me. I don't know if they're my favorite ballparks, but those were always like feel like you made it moments, if that makes sense. So,
Sure.
for me, those had a different, I don't know if I played well in any of them, but I just always, when you walked out, you're like, your inner kid comes out and you're like, man, I made it to the big leagues in a weird way. I don't know why I felt that way, but it's like, man, so that those ones always. And then in Camden Yard in Baltimore, I remember that was like one of my first trips as a big leaguer. And then I went through the station and under the little tunnel or whatever you can go through to the players and all that. And I was like, man, Kyle Ripken played here and stuff like that. So those ones always, that's where the kid came out of me and stuff like that. And then, I always loved pitching in Milwaukee too, because I felt like I was just throwing 100 on that mound. I don't know why.
I wanted to recap Kyle Gibson, a no-show. The panel wants to see JJ Wetherholt this season. And then Matt Holliday is a brand new hip. Congratulations on that, Matt. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
the recovery is going well.
Thank you so much.
And hopefully we'll get Kyle back on there. I'm going to have to reach out, but that's going to do it for this
I didn't
edition
see
of
what was the excuse today. I didn't see
He
it.
just went crickets. There's no even
yeah.
dotted lines. They're just crickets by his name.
Let's be transparent. So if I would love to have him on because he's great, but if he can't make it or one of you guys can, maybe like a Matt Carpenter or Kyle Loesch would be good.
Sure, it's your show, Jim. You're running this
No,
thing.
no, it's our show. I'm just the guy that herds the cats. Okay, no one's
Are we?
watching.
Are
I
you
Well,
want to make
wanting?
this
Kyle,
very clear.
He
No
wants
one's
us to do
watching.
his job by bringing on guests. I got it. We got
Right.
it.
Kyle is turning into more of a spot like guest host, like more
Yeah,
of a
we'll get him every third Thursday of the month.
yeah.
Yeah, but let's be clear. It's your show. No one's watching if it's just me talking. All right,
Yeah.
that's going to do it for this edition of Serving It Up. We'll see you next time, and hopefully that episode won't suck.